So after I had woke up yesterday, I felt that I had earned a wake and bake after successfully losing my virginity the night before. So I went down to the kitchen to take a dab. But as I was heating my rig, I felt a slight breeze go past my right ankle. And as I looked down, I felt the weeping cries of despair go down my spine and up my butthole. I then fell to my knees and screamed in rage. I had never felt so angry before, but I knew what had to be done. I had to find my right sock. So after what felt like years of searching my entire house for that sock, I went to my room to sleep in my sorrow. And then it hit me. And suddenly all of last night was replaying through my eyes and I immediately remembered where my right sock was. So you see, after I hopped off my PC last night, I wanted to beat my meat. But I didn't know where I was gonna come, so I stripped my foot of a sock, and now that sock belongs to Oscar. About a month or so after the second time I took acid, me and a friend decided to do it again, and I had already done acid with him before, so I thought it was gonna be fine, but that was really fucking stupid. I truly couldn't tell you what I was thinking when I decided to trip with this guy again after the last time I did, but for some reason I invited him over to trip with me, and believe me, he wasn't by any means better to trip with this time, and that's what today's story is actually about. So it was Friday, and me and my friend, who I'm going to refer as Josh from now on, had just gotten out of school. So after Josh and I had met up outside the school, we walked over to the gas station that was nearby. And neither of us had much money besides the money for our acid. So we just got some waters and continued to walk into town. After about a half an hour, we had arrived in town and started walking towards the local grocery store, which was in the general area of where the guy we were getting our acid from was meeting us. So once we had illegally crossed the highway and got to the store, we went inside and I immediately went to the deli and stole some popcorn chicken for myself because I hadn't that day. But we continued to walk around for about an hour, and I had also managed to swipe a movie during that time, and eventually the guy texted me saying he was there, so we left and went out to this guy's car. And it was the same guy that we had gotten the acid from last time, so we trusted him somewhat. So we got into his car, and he gave us the ride across town after selling us the acid, and he even smoked us up on the way. But after we got out of the car and he had left, my parents called me and asking where we were to come and get us. So after we told them where we were and they came and got us, we went straight to Taco Bell and then started heading home. We took the acid roughly 20 minutes before we got to my house because it was nearly 7 at this point and we wanted to start tripping before we got there. But once that was done, it was smooth sailing from there. At least that's what I thought it was gonna be. And yeah, at first it was. We were having fun, we watched some Rick and Morty and the movie that I stole earlier. We were doing good for a couple of hours. But then when we were scrolling our phones and I was looking at trippy things on Instagram, I'm not sure what Josh was doing, but he just started bursting out in laughter and I was really confused because he was laughing so hard he was almost crying. But he wouldn't tell me what was so funny, and after about 5 minutes of laughing, his face just went straight and he continued to not talk for a while. I asked if he was good and he wouldn't respond, but he was just scrolling through his phone, so I went back to scrolling through Instagram. Then out of nowhere, Josh takes both of his socks off at the same time with one hand and then throws them at the wall behind me. So I continue to ask him what his fucking problem is, and he's like, sorry, they were strangling my feet, so I tell him to chill the fuck out and he apologizes again. So we went back to our phones, we still had Rick and Morty playing in the background, and then Josh's legs start shaking and I look at him and he starts racing to take his shirt off. But he's struggling to get the shirt off over his ridiculously fat head, and after he gets it off, he throws it on the floor and complains that it's too hot. So I offered to him that I could go turn the heat down, but instead he strips himself of his pants and says that he needs to go home. And after Josh had finally stripped himself down to his boxers, I asked him what the fuck he's doing and why he's being weird. But he just looks back at me and then takes off in full sprint, out my door and down the stairs screaming like Homer Simpson. It's roughly 2 a.m. at this point, Josh is freaking out and I have no idea what the fuck to do, and all of a sudden I hear the door open up. So I run downstairs because it's the middle of winter, and then I get downstairs and I see Josh running around outside in the middle of winter in his boxers. So I start yelling for him and then I don't see him anymore, so I close the door to go get shoes and a hoodie on to get his dumb ass, but as I shut the door I see him coming back around the loop in front of my house. So I yell at him to come back inside, but then he runs off again. So I turn around to go get shoes, and as I'm coming back from putting my shoes on, I see him coming back around the loop again. So again, I start yelling for him, but he just continued to run the loop for another 2 or 3 times, and then finally he just came running inside and right upstairs into my room. When I got upstairs after taking my shoes and hoodie off, he was on the floor on my throw-out mattress covered up in a blanket. He didn't move from that position until the next day when he left. I, on the other hand, continued my trip peacefully, knowing that Josh was not going to bother me anymore with his retardation. And even though I've brought this story up multiple times to Josh, he continues to claim that it never happened or that he doesn't remember it to this day.